bend in the road is not the end of the road unless you fail to make the turn. And I believe that as business people and as breeders, there are constant challenges and changes in the marketplace that are creating bends in the road. So getting the important calls right is really, really important for leaders. The example of certified Angus beef was a call that somebody had some foresight and they connected the dots, and then they had the intestinal fortitude to stick with that plan long term and to make some tough judgment calls when folks wondered if they should get rid of that program. History has taught us that that was in fact the right decision. As leaders, we face two real risks. One risk is the concern of sinking the boat, and making a decision that literally sinks our business, our operation, our association. The other thing we have to ward against is missing the boat. We have to balance our decision making between those two risks. It's critically important, especially in uncertain and rapidly changing times like these, that we take a look at the landscape in front of us and try to anticipate the kinds of issues and trends that may be shaping our collective futures. And some of those trends that I think are critically important for the beef industry, I do believe that the ramifications of COVID could have some long-term, both positive and negative impacts for the beef industry. One thing is clear, and that is that consumers love meat. They've demonstrated that through this experience. Another topic that I think is going to be critical to the cattle industry at large is the issue of sustainability. And as breeders trying to determine what traits we're selecting for, I think it's going to be important that we keep that in mind, because moving forward, we're going to see a lot more measurement being done relative to the environmental footprint of the beef cattle industry. We're already producing as much beef with 33% fewer cattle than we had in the 1970s. But certainly things like fertility, making sure a cow has a calf every year and weans a calf every year, focusing on efficiency and efficient beef yield, I think, are all things that we'll have to continue to focus on, in addition to our continued quest to give consumer a great eating experience through a high quality product. I am optimistic long term about the cattle industry. I use the example of Captain Sullenberger, who landed the plane in the Hudson. And one of the things he said in his book is we got to be a long-term optimist and a short-term realist. And I think that's pretty good advice for the cattle industry today. There's some hurdles and some things we're going to have to navigate in the next year, depending on the economy and employment rates and restaurant openings and closings and so forth. But I think long term, we're in a really, really good space. People have tasted and had an experience at retail that they're going to demand in the future. I think that's very positive news for the beef industry and the Angus breed specifically. People really are learning to cook at home more, and they're finding that their dollar goes farther. And so I think we're maybe creating new habits. Perhaps the most exciting thing is what I see on the trade front. It does appear that Asia's economy is coming back from people that I talk to. There is more restaurant traffic, and our hope in the beef industry really relies on our ability to crack open those foreign markets. I believe we're going to have some great opportunities to do that in the future. So I think there's a real reason to be a long-term optimist.